Cockpit is a project co-funded by the European Union, under the 7th Framework Program in the domain of ICT for governance and policy modeling. Cockpit aims to define a new governance model which actively engages and empowers citizens in public service delivery decision-making process. Cockpit will combine the research areas of citizens' opinion mining in the context of Web 2.0, enhance service science management engineering in the context of the public sector, and encourage deliberative engagement of citizens for forming informed judgments on public services delivery. This video is a demonstration of the new governance model, as envisioned by Cockpit. It should be noted that the new governance model describes a future vision for public service delivery. The Cockpit toolkit that will be implemented by the project supports the most innovative and important stages of this model. The model is divided in 4 stages, which are the following: A. Service conceptualization and implementation decision. B. Service modeling. C. Service deployment. D. Service delivery evaluation. The storyboard you are going to watch provides insights on the operation of the new governance model in a scenario about improving the service of issuing building permissions. Steve is a decision-maker working for the Ministry of Housing, Environment and Spatial Planning. Based on the strategic plan, issued by his government earlier this year, and on the directives that have been set by the European Union and the relevant programs, Steve decides to investigate the possibility of improving the service for the delivery of building permission. In order to get a feeling of what the citizens think about the current service, Steve uses his personal computer to run the Cockpit opinion mining toolkit, which gathers the relevant citizens' comments from various Web 2.0 sources such as blogs coming from WordPress, Blogger and different forums. Among those comments, there is an entry by Ralph, a citizen who has recently utilized the service. Ralph has decided to build a new house for his family. Based on the requirements of the service, Ralph has already gathered the documents needed and had successfully submitted the application to the Building Permission Agency. However, he is waiting more than 4 weeks for a reply on his application, and he has complained about it in a forum.
What an awful service. Huge waiting times for a building permission.
Alexandra, another citizen, is also in the process of building a new house. However, she is finding it very difficult to gather all the required documents, as she has to visit different offices for getting certificates of ownership, permits, building plans and other stuff. Fed up by the complex and bureaucratic process, she posts a comment on a blog.
In 2011, public administration resides in printed maps, forcing citizens to search through tons of documents. Google Earth or Live Maps are technologies that could be easily deployed.
Steve back at his office gets the results coming out of the opinion mining tool, which are anonymous as the tool does not keep records of the citizens' personal information. The opinion mining process reveals that the majority of citizens value positively only the cost and the importance of this service. However, almost everybody is disappointed about the time this service takes, its complexity and the overall quality of it. Steve organizes a board for conducting the feasibility studies on this service. A task force deals with the collection of statistical data concerning the issuing of planning and environmental permissions, in order to get a first impression of the procedures of the whole service delivery. Another task force is responsible of searching over the web in order to find what citizens believe regarding the delivery of planning permissions from the responsible body. Possible contributors could be engineers that professionally deal with building permissions, or citizens that were issued a building permission. In order to achieve the best possible result, the board will search Web 2.0 sources like websites, forums, blogs utilizing the Cockpit toolkit. During this step, Alex instructs his department's service engineers to use the Cockpit toolkit for developing a rough service model and attach the various costs to it. Moreover, the budget line is set, while the different costs are associated with the different funding sources. Once a general instantiation of this model is constructed, simulation with the anticipated input, for example number of total requests per month, is triggered, and the results present the overall cost of the service and its performance. Having those data in hand, it is clear to Alex if the service under investigation can be efficiently financed by the available sources, and he has also an estimation of the performance and the improvements it might bring. Moreover, A specialized forum powered by the Cockpit deliberation platform is launched, which citizens will be able to visit and write down their opinions regarding either the existing, conventional way of getting the building permission or the new one which is under debate. Having collected all the studies, Steve visits the administration board of the ministry and delivers his report. After analyzing all the facts, the board gives the green light to Steve to move on with the necessary changes towards the redesign of the service. The first step in the service design stage is process modeling. The service engineers, together with the people that operate the service, design all possible flow alternatives, using the BPMN modeling notation. In the next step, the engineers decide to model the documents that are exchanged during the whole service in XML format and utilize the UNC-FACT core components technical specification methodology to build reusable core components that could be utilized also by other services. In parallel, Steve contacts lawmakers, lawyers and the Data Protection Authority in order to clarify how the whole procedure can be simplified, taking as a fact that issuing the building permission is particularly complex. All relevant input is inserted in the Cockpit legislation repository, which is supported by the Cockpit deliberation platform. Last but not least, the costs of the service are modeled by measuring the required resources and the duration of each individual task of the service. This step is essential for the modeling process, because it will directly affect the final decision for implementing the service, as it will rule out extremely costly alternatives. In this context, the possible models of the service are accompanied by cost features, which are subject to change in case resources are increased or decreased. The final cost models are imported in the Cockpit toolkit. The end models, called also service alternatives, derive after the combination of the above-mentioned modeling steps. In this way, each service is modeled in more than one configuration, which includes not only the actual workflows that exist and are operated today, but also possible alternative flows that have been proposed during the modeling phase. Having designed a number of different models that depict the proposed implementations, it's time to collect the citizens' opinions regarding these implementations. The first step in this direction is to present to citizens a number of selections of features which actually represent values of the service. In this context, the model is assigned with different values through a feature modeling methodology powered by the Cockpit toolkit. The citizens' selections on these values will reveal the most desired alternative, which will go then into a second round of deliberation. Amongst others, the polls that are published in this stage contain the following options for citizens to choose: in-person assistance versus electronic submission, and fast delivery versus low costs for citizens. Having designed the different polls of values, they are uploaded into the forum and people are invited to vote on the different values. Browsing the forum, Steve stumbles upon the votes and the comments of Ralph and Alexandra. Ralph decided that he favors more to have fast delivery instead of low cost for citizens, having in mind the delays he experienced. Alexandra, based on her experience with the service, prefers electronic submission instead of in-person assistance. Based on the opinions gathered in the poll, it comes out that configuration B is the most desired one. After the selection of the final service configuration, the service engineers construct the simulated model in using the Cockpit toolkit. Moreover, a visualization environment is constructed so that citizens can see the outcomes of the simulation, in case they change the different parameters. Ralph enters his preferred values into the simulated model parameters and is presented with the visualization of the results. He is quite happy with the end result and posts on Facebook through the Cockpit deliberation platform stating,
"My simulation. A bit costly but fast response."
Alexandra also inserts her desired values to the simulation parameters and comes up with the results of her attempt. Utilizing the Cockpit deliberation platform, she posts a message on her Twitter account.
My simulation. Small cost, less documents.
The next day, Alan, a friend of Ralph, who is working for an IT industry as a service engineer, is browsing his Facebook account. Alan finds Ralph's post and decides to find more about Cockpit and the service under design. For this reason, Alan visits the Cockpit deliberation platform where he is presented with the process model of the service. Alan, based on his expertise, identifies a possible flaw in the design and informs the stakeholders by posting to the deliberation platform.
I believe you should check again task X.Y in your model.
At the end of the deliberation period, all comments are accumulated and the service model takes its final format. In this format, all the resources to be used are defined and minor inconsistencies, such as the one identified by Alan, are corrected. The final service is then enhanced with various metadata and semantics, which will help citizens to rapidly retrieve it and, most importantly, will enable other service engineers to reuse it during the implementation of other services that are closely related to this one. The board decides the use of XML and XMP for this purpose. As the service is complete in terms of modeling, it is stored in a services management repository for reference, future extensions and discovery by other third-party services that are willing to exchange data directly through web services. After selecting the model, implementation is the next logical step. A new website is developed where citizens can be informed on the new procedure and start a new session in order to get a building permission. Steve gives the order to set up servers in every single prefecture, where each application is separately stored and processed. In addition, a central system is set in the premises of the ministry. Steve asks all employees of each urban planning department to get to know and use efficiently the newly developed system in order to achieve fully electronic service delivery in the immediate future. As a final step, the board decides to facilitate the citizens even more. Default selections and profiling of each user are provided based mostly on demographic data. This will help citizens in the future to access services more quickly, and the central government to provide more personalized services. After the implementation and full operation of the new electronic service, the remaining step is the evaluation and amelioration of the service based on different types of feedback. The board collects statistical data of each use of the website, such as total hits, most visited pages, time spent on the website, referring sites, etc. This data is provided to expert analysts, who give their opinions on any weak points of the process, such as complex user interface, which results in citizens spending more time online. In addition, the evaluation form, which was used until today, is nowadays provided both conventionally and electronically to citizens. In this context, citizens provide comments directly to the administration based on their service experience. Moreover, the board in regular intervals performs also opinion mining and sentiment analysis using the Cockpit toolkit. During this process, Steve comes across many comments that praise the ministry for the excellent work performed. He sees that citizens' opinions have turned mostly positive, although there were also some increased negative opinions regarding the price of the service. Based on the reports from all the above steps, Steve, supported also by Cockpit's evaluation framework, is able to construct a complete evaluation analysis, which contains all the facts and figures that are related to the service. The report, addressed to the board of the ministry, presents the current situation regarding the service, which is very positive. Moreover, Steve proposes through his report recommendations for policies and services that should be considered in the near future for further optimizing the service. Thank you for watching the video. More information about the Cockpit project can be found at www.cockpit-project.eu.